The hook, the cafe, was always loud. Ships landed outside the spaceport every hour, their engines shaking the ground like thunder. Travelers from many worlds walked through the glass doors, speaking in strange voices, wearing strange clothes, carrying strange devices. But inside, behind the counter, stood a young man who was always the same. He wore a plain apron. He carried trays filled with cups. He wiped the tables when customers left. He was just a waiter. Every day looked the same, for him. He smiled when he had to. He bowed when he had to. He said the same words again and again. "Welcome. Here's your drink. Thank you." Then the next ship came. Then the next customer sat down. But deep inside, he wanted more. He wanted the stars. He wanted to be on those ships, not serving them. He wanted to see what was beyond the cafe's glass walls, beyond the endless sky. Yet dreams like that were not for waiters. Dreams like that belonged to soldiers, explorers, pilots, and leaders. He was none of those things. He told himself, "This is my life, and this is enough." One evening, when the cafe was almost empty, something unusual happened. A figure entered, tall, thin, and cloaked. Its skin was a pale shade of blue, and its eyes glowed faintly like small lanterns. The alien moved slowly, as if every step hurt. It sat at a corner table far from the others and lowered its head. The waiter walked over with his usual smile. "Welcome," he said. "What would you like?" The alien spoke in a soft, broken voice. "Food. Any food." The waiter tapped on his small tablet. "That will be 12 credits." The alien's hands trembled as it searched through its pockets. Small coins clinked onto the table. 1, 2, 3. Not enough. The alien looked up with shame in its glowing eyes. I cannot pay." Normally, the rules were simple. No money, no food. He had said it hundreds of times before. The cafe owner watched carefully, and mistakes were punished. But tonight, something in the alien's face stopped him. The alien looked hungry, tired, and lost. It had the look of someone who had traveled far and found no kindness. The waiter felt a strange pull inside his chest. He lowered his voice and whispered, "Don't worry." He pressed a few buttons on his tablet, pretending the payment was complete. Then he went to the kitchen, filled a plate with warm bread and soup, and placed it in front of the alien. "Eat," the waiter said quietly. "It's on the house." The alien stared at him for a long time, as if searching his soul. Then, slowly, it began to eat. Bite after bite, its hand stopped shaking. Its glowing eyes softened. For a moment, the cafe felt warm and quiet. When the meal was finished, the alien stood. Instead of leaving, it reached into its cloak and pulled out something small. It looked like a coin, but not made of metal. It was crystal, clear, yet glowing faintly with light that seemed alive. The alien pressed it into the waiter's palm. The crystal was warm, pulsing like a tiny heartbeat. The waiter frowned. "What is this?" The alien leaned closer. Its voice was soft but filled with weight. "A gift, a key. You will need it. Soon." The waiter's heart raced. He tried to hand it back. "I can't take this." But the alien shook its head. "Kindness always returns. You gave food. Now I give destiny." Before the waiter could speak again, the alien pulled its cloak tight and left the cafe. The glass doors closed behind it. In seconds, it was gone, swallowed by the noise of the spaceport outside. The young man looked down at the crystal in his hand. It glowed brighter now, as if it was alive and aware. He slipped it into his pocket, nervous that the cafe owner might see. He returned to cleaning the tables, but his mind was far away. He could not stop thinking about the alien's words, "You will need it soon." That night, as he lay in his small bed, he could still feel the warmth of the crystal through his pocket. He closed his eyes, but he did not fall asleep quickly. Strange dreams began to flicker through his mind. Stars, planets, ships in battle. A voice echoing in the dark. Kindness always returns. When morning came, the cafe was loud again, full of travelers and noise. He wore his apron and smiled at customers like always. But deep inside, he knew something had changed. The crystal was still in his pocket. And the waiter had no idea that his life, his simple life of trays and tables, was about to end. First signs of change. The next morning felt strange. The waiter woke up in his small rented room above the cafe. But something was different. The sunlight through the window looked sharper, brighter, almost alive. He sat up, rubbed his eyes, and told himself he was just tired. But when he reached into his pocket, the truth was still there. The crystal. It glowed faintly, even in daylight. He held it between his fingers and watched the light shift inside like liquid fire. It pulsed, slow and steady, almost like a heartbeat. "Why me?" he whispered. No answer came. Only silence. He slipped it back into his pocket and went downstairs to work. The cafe was already busy. Pilots shouted for coffee, merchants argued about prices, and travelers laughed about their journeys. The waiter moved between tables as always, carrying trays, wiping spills, bowing politely. From the outside, nothing had changed, but inside he felt every sound sharper, every step heavier, every face somehow clearer. When he walked past the old service robot in the corner, the machine suddenly sparked. Its red eyes flickered and its voice stuttered. Service. Error." Then it shut down completely. Customers stared. The cafe owner muttered in anger. The waiter froze. He hadn't touched it, but the robot collapsed the moment he walked by. Later, while pouring water into a glass, he noticed something even stranger. The crystal in his pocket grew warm, and for a moment the water in the glass rippled as if a wind had passed through it. No one else seemed to notice, but his hands shook. He was scared. He was just a waiter. He had no training, no knowledge of strange objects. Why would an alien give him something like this? That night, after closing the cafe, he walked alone through the empty streets near the spaceport. Neon lights glowed above him, and ships roared as they left for distant stars. He looked at them with the same old longing, but tonight the feeling was sharper, like a wound. As he walked, he heard voices from a dark alley. He turned and saw two rough-looking men surrounding a smaller traveler. They shoved him against the wall, demanding money. The traveler begged, "Please, I have nothing." The waiter's heart pounded. Normally, he would walk away. This was not his fight. He was nobody. But his hand brushed against the crystal in his pocket, and it burned, hot, like it wanted him to act. Before he realized what he was doing, he shouted, "Leave him alone!" The men turned, laughing. "Look at this," one sneered. "A cafe boy playing hero." The waiter stepped closer, even though fear twisted inside him. The crystal pulsed. Suddenly, the neon lights above flickered and went out. The alley sank into darkness. The men cursed, stumbling back. Their small devices, flashlights, scanners, died instantly, as if drained of power. Only the crystal glowed, shining through the waiter's pocket. The two men stared at it, their faces pale. Without another word, they ran, disappearing into the night. The smaller traveler whispered, How did you do that?" The waiter looked down at his glowing pocket, trembling. "I don't know." The traveler bowed quickly and ran away, leaving him alone in the silent alley. He returned to his room with his mind racing. The crystal was no gift. It was something dangerous. But it had protected him. Or maybe it had used him. He lay awake long into the night, listening to the faint hum of the object. The next day, rumors spread through the cafe. A ship had vanished during its jump to hyperspace. Entire crew gone. Others whispered about shadowy hunters searching the port. Words like disappearances and Empire patrols passed from mouth to mouth. The waiter tried to keep his head down, but he noticed something. Some of the strangers who entered the cafe scanned the crowd too carefully. Their eyes lingered on him. Their devices beeped faintly when he walked past, and the crystal grew warmer every time. That evening, as he cleaned the last table, he felt it again, a presence. He looked up. A tall figure stood at the doorway, hidden under a dark hood. For a moment he thought it was the same alien from before. But no. The energy felt heavier, colder. The figure raised a small device. It beeped loudly when pointed at him. The waiter's chest tightened. The figure's hood tilted slightly as if it had found what it was looking for. Then it turned and walked away into the night. The waiter stood frozen, the tray shaking in his hands. He didn't understand what was happening, but deep down he knew one thing. The crystal was no ordinary gift, and strangers were now hunting him because of it. The danger arrives. The cafe was full again. Steam rose from boiling kettles, voices filled the air, and the smell of roasted grain drifted through the room. On the surface, it was just another evening. But the waiter felt tension crawling on his skin. Ever since the hooded figure had scanned him, he couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were always watching. He tried to serve with his usual smile, but his hands were unsteady. The crystal in his pocket pulsed stronger than before, like it could sense something coming closer. When the glass doors opened, silence spread across the cafe. 3 armored figures stepped inside. Their armor was black, shining under the lights, with the symbol of the Empire carved in red across their chests. Their helmets hid their faces, but their eyes glowed faint yellow behind the glass. Everyone in the cafe froze. The lead enforcer spoke, his voice cold and metallic. "We are searching for an object, a crystal. Whoever has it must step forward." The waiter's heart stopped. His fingers tightened around the tray he carried. His mind screamed, "Don't move, don't breathe." "No," one spoke. The enforcers walked between the tables, scanning each customer with handheld devices. Beeps echoed, soft but sharp like knives cutting the silence. The waiter tried to act normal, pouring drinks, wiping a table. But when one of the scanners passed close to him, the crystal in his pocket burned hot. The device shrieked, lights flashing red. The enforcer turned sharply. "You, step forward." The waiter's tray slipped from his hand and clattered to the ground. All eyes in the cafe turned to him. Panic surged. He bolted. He pushed past customers, ran through the kitchen, and slammed open the back door. The beer, night air hit his face, cold and sharp. Behind him, heavy boots thundered against the floor. The enforcers were chasing. The alleys twisted like a maze. He ran left, then right, his breath ragged. Neon lights flashed above, signs flickering like broken stars. He stumbled over crates, shoved past startled workers, but the sound of pursuit never faded. "Stop!" a metallic voice shouted. Blaster fire hissed past his head, burning holes in the wall beside him. Fear fueled his legs, but he knew he couldn't run forever. His lungs burned. His body begged to stop. Then the crystal pulsed harder, flooding his chest with warmth. His eyes darted to a narrow stairway leading upward. He took it, climbing fast until he burst onto a rooftop. The city stretched below him, glowing with light and smoke. Ships lifted into the sky like arrows of fire. The enforcers followed, their boots heavy against the metal stairs. He turned, cornered with nowhere left to run. One of them raised a weapon. "Hand over the crystal." The waiter trembled. His voice cracked. "I don't even know what it is." The leader stepped closer. "It does not matter. You are not meant to hold it. Give it to us, and your death will be quick." The crystal flared inside his pocket, brighter than ever. Suddenly, the rooftop lights shattered with a burst of energy. Sparks rained down, forcing the enforcers to shield their faces. The waiter felt his body move before his mind caught up. He leapt over the edge. For a heartbeat, he was falling, wind tearing at his clothes, his stomach twisting. Then the crystals, glow wrapped around him like a shield. His fall slowed, his body landing softly on a cargo tarp below. He gasped, alive. But above, the enforcers leaned over the rooftop, pointing down at him. One of them shouted into a communicator. Reinforcements were coming. The waiter scrambled to his feet and ran again. The crystal guided him. Turn left here, hide behind that wall, squeeze through that gap. He didn't understand how, but his feet seemed to know where to go. Finally, He ducked into a hidden tunnel beneath the port. Darkness swallowed him. His chest heaved, sweat dripping down his face. For a moment, silence returned, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Empire wanted the crystal. They would not stop, and now they knew exactly who carried it. The truth revealed. The tunnel was dark and cold. The waiter leaned against the damp wall, his chest rising and falling fast. His hands shook as he pulled the crystal from his pocket. It glowed faintly, casting soft light across the stone. "Why, me?" he whispered again, voice breaking. "What do you want from me?" But the crystal only pulsed, slow and steady, as if alive. He stayed hidden until the sound of armored boots faded above. Only then did he crawl through the tunnel and step into a quiet district near the edge of the port. The streets here were old, forgotten by most. Lanterns flickered weakly, and shadows covered every corner. And in those shadows, someone waited. The Yamar, cloaked alien from the café, stepped forward. Its glowing eyes looked calm but heavy with sadness. "I warned you," it said softly. "They would come." The waiter's breath caught. You gave me this thing. They almost killed me because of it." The alien bowed its head. "I am sorry, but the crystal had to find you. It chose you." The waiter shook his head. "I'm nobody. I'm just a waiter. I don't know how to fight. I don't even know what this is." He held up the glowing shard with trembling hands. The alien studied him for a long moment, then spoke slowly. "You are more than you believe. That crystal is not only a gift, it is a key. A key to your people's lost legacy." The word stung his ears. "My people?" "Yes, humans." The waiter frowned. "Humans are nothing. Everyone knows it. We clean the ports. We serve food. We build ships for others but never fly them. That's all we are." The alien's eyes burned brighter. "That is what they want you to believe. But it is not the truth. Long ago, humans were not servants. They were explorers, warriors, builders of wonders. Your kind touched stars that others feared. Empires rose because of you. And when they saw your strength, they grew afraid. So they erased your story." The waiter's mouth went dry. "You're lying. Do you not feel it?" The alien pointed to the crystal. "It answers only to humans. It carries a signal that unlocks what was hidden. That is why the Empire hunts you. If humans learn the truth of who they once were, the galaxy will change." The waiter looked down at the glowing shard. He remembered the lights breaking, the machines failing, the way his fall slowed as if the air itself caught him. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't luck. The crystal had chosen him. Still, he shook his head. "I don't want this. I never asked for it." The alien stepped closer. "Neither did your ancestors when they first left their world. Yet they carried the burden of discovery. Now it is your turn." The waiter backed away, panic rising again. "No, you don't understand. I can't do this. I just want my life back. I just want normal." The alien's voice softened. "Normal is gone. The moment you showed kindness, destiny found you, and destiny will not let go." Before the waiter could reply, a sharp sound cut through the night. A hiss, a flash of red light. Blaster fire. The alien shoved the waiter aside as bolts burned into the ground where he had stood. Enforcers stormed. The street, weapons raised. The crystal flared bright in his hand, lighting the dark like a small sun. The alien grabbed his arm. "Run. You must live." Together they raced through the narrow alleys, bolts chasing them, walls sparking with fire. The alien moved slower than before, as if wounded, but refused to stop. At last they dove into another tunnel, sliding down into silence. The alien pressed a trembling hand to its chest. Blue blood leaked between its fingers. The waiter knelt beside it, panic flooding him. "You're hurt." The alien's glowing eyes dimmed. "My time is short, but yours is only beginning. Listen carefully." It gripped his hand tight, forcing the crystal back into his palm. "That shard is one of many. Together they unlock a starship older than any empire, A ship built by humans, for humans. Find it, and you will find your destiny. The waiter shook his head fiercely. No, stay with me. You can't leave me with this. The alien gave a faint smile. Kindness brought us together. Now courage must guide you forward. Its hand fell still. The glow in its eyes faded into darkness. The waiter sat frozen, the weight of the crystal burning in his palm. For the first time, tears filled his eyes. He wasn't just a waiter anymore. He was a target, a carrier of secrets older than empires. And he was alone. Above, the sound of enforcers echoed again. They were still searching, still closing in. The waiter stood, clutching the crystal against his chest. His legs shook, but a fire stirred in his heart. He didn't know how, he didn't know why, but he whispered to himself, I have to survive, I have to find that ship. The truth had been revealed, and nothing would ever be the same. The rising conflict. The streets above were alive with danger. Enforcers marched in squads, scanning alleys, checking every face. Their voices echoed through the night like iron bells. The waiter crouched in the tunnel, clutching the crystal tight, against his chest. The alien's last words still burned in his mind. Find the ship. Find your destiny. But how could he? He was just a boy who carried trays. He had never flown a ship, never fought a battle. He didn't even know where to begin. Yet when he looked at the crystal, glowing faintly in the dark, he felt something stir. Not strength, not courage, but possibility. He slipped through the shadows, careful to stay hidden. Neon signs above flickered with broken light, casting shapes across the walls. Patrols passed close, their scanners humming. Every time one came near, the crystal grew hot, guiding him away, showing him paths he never noticed before. It was as if the city itself was opening secret doors just for him. At last, he reached the edge of the port. Cargo yards stretched before him, filled with crates, cranes, and half-finished ships. The air smelled of fuel and smoke. Workers hurried back and forth, but all kept their heads down. None dared to look at the black-armored. Enforcers searching nearby. The waiter ducked behind a stack of crates. His breath came sharp and fast. He needed to think, he needed to decide. Then he heard a voice. You there. Human. He turned sharply. A merchant, tall and scaled like a lizard, stood in the shadows. Its golden eyes studied him. They are hunting you, aren't they? The waiter froze. His first instinct was to deny it. But the merchant stepped closer, lowering its voice. I saw what you carry. The crystal. Dangerous to hold, dangerous to lose. But also powerful. Fear ran cold through the waiter's body. I don't want power. I just want to live. The merchant gave a small, cruel smile. Then you must choose quickly. The Empire will not stop until you are ash. Boots clattered nearby. Lights swept across the yard. The merchant hissed softly. Run, boy, or learn to fight. The waiter ran. He sprinted between containers, heart pounding. Shouts rose behind him. There! Stop him! Blaster fire tore through the air, scorching metal. Sparks rained down as he stumbled forward. Then, without warning, the crystal blazed bright. His body jerked, filled with strange heat. His hand lifted on its own, and the blaster bolts bent away from him, striking harmlessly against the walls. Enforcers stopped, stunned. One muttered, Impossible. The waiter stared at his own shaking hand. He hadn't known what he was doing, but the crystal had. For the first time, he felt more than fear. He felt connection. The enforcers regrouped, weapons raised. He bolted again, following the crystal's pulse. It led him to a large hangar at the far side of the yard. The doors were half open, and inside stood a sleek silver shuttle. He didn't think. He ran inside. The ship hummed faintly, waiting like a beast in a cage. Its controls were dark, but when he placed the crystal into a small hollow on the console, everything came alive. Lights surged, engines roared, the floor trembled. The waiter gasped. He had never touched a ship's controls in his life. But the panels lit up in simple patterns he could understand. As if the ship recognized him. Outside, enforcers flooded the yard. They shouted commands, weapons ready, the hangar filled with their armored shadows. The waiter gripped the controls, panic rising. "I don't know how to fly this thing." The ship answered with a soft chime. Words glowed across the screen. "Trust the key. Trust yourself." He swallowed hard. "All right, let's try." He pulled a lever. The shuttle lifted, shaking, the hangar groaning around it. Crates fell, alarms blared, workers scattered in fear. "Stop him!" the enforcers roared. They fired volley after volley, but the shuttle's shield flickered to life, glowing blue as the bolts bounced away. The waiter's hands moved as if guided by unseen strings. He pulled the stick, and the shuttle shot forward, smashing through the hangar doors into open night. The city shrank below him. Stars stretched above. For a moment, wonder filled his chest. He was flying, actually flying. But the joy lasted only seconds. A squadron of Empire ships rose from the port, their engines burning red. They locked onto him, chasing fast. The waiter gritted his teeth. Of course, it's never easy. The shuttle's screen lit again. The path is not escape. The path is discovery. He tightened his grip. He didn't understand the words, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would keep coming. The chase would never end, unless he found the ship the alien had spoken of. Unless he discovered the truth that the crystal carried. Below him, the city lights faded into darkness. Ahead, the stars called. The rising conflict had begun. The choice. The stars stretched out in every direction, endless and cold. The shuttle's engines hummed beneath the waiter's trembling hands. He had escaped the port, escaped the soldiers, but he was not free. Not yet. Red lights flashed on the console. Warnings screamed in sharp tones. Behind him, Empire ships closed in, their engines burning like fire in the void. He could see them through the rear screen, dark predators chasing their prey. His breath shook. "I can't do this, I'm not a pilot." But the ship seemed alive. The crystal in the console pulsed, and the controls responded as if they knew his hands. The shuttle banked sharply, dodging laser fire that streaked past like falling stars. Still, the enemy ships didn't stop. His mind raced. He could turn back, surrender, hand over the crystal. Maybe they would let him live, maybe they would leave him alone. But another voice whispered inside him, soft yet sharp. "If you give it up, the truth dies with it. Humanity stays broken, forgotten." The alien's face came to him in memory, the tired eyes, the voice heavy with sorrow. "Kindness brought us together. Now courage must guide you forward." His throat tightened. He didn't want this. He had never asked for it. He only wanted a quiet life. But the crystal had chosen, and now the galaxy was watching. On the console, new words appeared, glowing in pale blue. "You must choose. Hide in safety, or fight for your people." Tears pricked his eyes. Safety was tempting. Safety meant life. But he remembered the traveler he had saved in the alley, the alien who had starved in the café, the way people lowered their heads when Empire soldiers passed. Safety was only survival. It was never freedom. He gripped the controls tighter. His voice shook, but he forced the words out. "I can't go back. Not now." The crystal flared, flooding the cabin with light. The ship responded instantly, faster and sharper than before. It surged forward, slipping between enemy fire, diving through asteroid fields, moving as though guided by invisible hands. The Empire ships followed, but they struggled to keep up. Some crashed against the rocks, explosions, lighting the void. Still more came. Always more. As the chase dragged on, the console lit with a new signal. A set of coordinates appeared, strange but clear, pointing far beyond the Empire's reach. The waiter stared at them. "The ship," he whispered. The one the alien told me about. The choice was set before him. If he followed those coordinates, he would dive deeper into danger. He would become a target forever hunted across the stars. His life would never be his own again. But if he turned away, if he threw the crystal out the airlock, he could hide. He could return to being a nameless boy in an apron, forgotten by history. His chest ached. He imagined himself back in the café serving drinks, smiling politely, bowing to strangers. Safe. Ordinary. Empty. He looked at the crystal, glowing like a heartbeat. Then he looked at the coordinates, shining like a path written just for him, and, in that moment he knew. He was done being invisible. His hand slammed the controls, locking the ship onto the coordinates. The engines roared, pulling him into the unknown. Enemy ships swarmed behind, firing endlessly, but the shuttle's shields held. Through the window, the stars shifted, stretching into streams of light as hyperspace opened before him. The waiter whispered to himself, not as a prayer but as a promise. "I'll fight for them, for us, for what we were." The crystal glowed brighter, answering his vow. Behind him, the Empire screamed in frustration as the shuttle vanished into the endless tunnel of hyperspace. For the first time, he was not just running. He was chasing something. Not safety, not survival. Destiny. The choice was made. The destiny hyperspace stretched around him like a tunnel of endless light. The shuttle hummed with steady power, carrying him far from the Empire's reach. The coordinates glowed bright on the console, pulling him toward a place he had never heard of, a place that felt both strange and familiar. The waiter sat in silence, staring at the stars. His hands still trembled, but his heart was steadier now. He had made his choice. He had given up safety for something greater. Hours passed. The stars bent back into view as the shuttle dropped from hyperspace. Before him floated a system with a single broken planet. Its surface was scarred with craters, its seas long gone, its air thin and dry. Around it drifted ruins, shattered, stations, hollow rings, and forgotten debris, and there, hidden in the shadows, waited the ship. It was massive, larger than any Empire cruiser he had ever seen. Its shape was sharp, proud, like a spear aimed at the stars. Though old, its hull still gleamed faintly silver, untouched by time. Ancient symbols were etched across its sides, symbols he somehow understood. Human words. The console chimed. Approach. The waiter guided the shuttle closer. The ancient vessel stirred, lights flickering along its frame as though it had been asleep for centuries and now was waking at his arrival. A docking bay opened, glowing with pale blue light. His shuttle slid inside and touched down. The engines powered down, leaving only silence. He stepped out, crystal in hand. The air inside was breathable, warm, alive. The walls glowed faintly as he walked, responding to his presence. It felt less like a ship and more like a living thing. At the center of the docking bay stood a door, massive and sealed. A hollow in its surface pulsed with light, the exact shape of the crystal. His breath caught. Slowly, with shaking hands, he placed the crystal into the slot. The entire ship roared awake. Light surged through the walls, engines hummed deep within, and the sealed door split open with a sound like thunder. The waiter shielded his eyes as blinding light poured into the bay. When it dimmed, he saw it, the bridge. Rows of ancient controls stretched before him, glowing symbols written in the human tongue. Screens lit up with star maps, countless systems, marked in gold. At the center stood a great captain's chair, empty, waiting. The crystal returned to his hand, pulsing stronger than ever. On the main screen, words appeared in blue fire. Welcome, child of Earth. Humanity rises again. His knees weakened. He staggered forward, staring at the chair. Me? No. I can't command this. I'm just... He stopped himself. The word waiter no longer fit. He closed his eyes and remembered everything. The alien he had fed, the dying warning, the chase through the city, the choice he had made in the stars. Every step had led him here. He sat down in the captain's chair, The ship's voice filled the air, calm and steady. Identity confirmed. Human legacy restored. Awaiting orders. He looked at the star maps again. So many worlds. So many secrets. All hidden, waiting for humans to reclaim. But he also saw the danger. The Empire would not stop. They would come for him. For this ship. For the truth he carried. Fear touched him again. But beneath it was something stronger. Resolve. He gripped the armrests and spoke, his voice still soft but steady. Then we fight. We bring the truth back. No more hiding. The ship responded with a deep hum, like approval. Engines ignited, shaking the walls. The great vessel rose from its cradle, drifting out of the ruins into open space. On the screen, enemy signals appeared. Empire ships closing fast. He was not surprised. Of course, he whispered. They always follow. But this time he was ready. The ship's weapons came online, glowing with ancient power. Shields rose, wrapping the vessel in silver light. The console displayed a single word: engage. He smiled for the first time in days. Let's show them what humans can do. The ancient ship surged forward, firing beams of energy that tore through the Empire's hunters. Explosions lit the void. Ships shattered. The stars themselves seemed to tremble. Yet more enemies came. The Empire was endless. But the waiter, no, the captain, no longer feared them. He was not running anymore. He was not hiding. He was carrying the fire of his people. The galaxy had forgotten what humans were, but it would remember. The battle stretched on, but the ship held strong. Each strike, each maneuver, felt like instinct. The crystal guided him, but so did something deeper, something already inside him. When the last enemy ship burned away, silence returned. The vast stars lay open before him. He leaned back in the chair, exhausted but alive. The console glowed. Again. Course set. Humanity's return begins. He looked out at the stars, countless and bright, and whispered, I was just a waiter, but not anymore. The engines flared. The ancient ship leapt into hyperspace, carrying him into the unknown future, the beginning of destiny.